Sexual assault. Diddy may fancy himself as a bad boy for life, but there's a difference between being a bad boy and an evil maniac, especially when it comes to sexual assault, which is one of the most serious crimes. The most high-profile case snagged the spotlight in 2023 when Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former long-term partner, filed a lawsuit against him. She accused him of subjecting her to years of physical and emotional abuse during their relationship. She also alleged that he forced her into drug use and sexually exploited her. While Diddy and Cassie amicably resolved the issue instead of prolonging it in a full-blown televised courtroom battle, much like the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard incident, this case opened the floodgates to more accusations against the hip-hop legend. Countless women claim to have been victimized by Diddy's insatiable sex drive and lust, which forced him to force his way to get the happy ending he wanted. The sexual assault issue surrounding Diddy brought attention to how powerful people in the entertainment world have been using their position to force the vulnerable into doing what they want, including sexual favors. After all, if you're desperate to become a star, whether in music or acting, to escape the 9-to-5 lifestyle, you're likely to fall into this trap and say, okay, just this once. Meanwhile, those sitting at the top of the ladder might think they're untouchable. Unfortunately for Diddy, the Cassie Ventura case acted as a power-up that gave a lot of other women the strength they needed to file lawsuits. At this rate, Diddy probably doesn't have enough money in the bank to settle these cases. Filming people without their consent. Filming people without their consent isn't as innocent as you may think it is. It's an invasion of privacy, especially when recording something that should only be kept under the bed covers. Diddy, of course, has been under fire because of his habit of recording people, and this isn't just about him recording their tunes while they're in the recording studio, but it's about something bigger. Privacy is like a superhero's secret identity because you can't reveal it without their permission. That means you can't record or film anyone who didn't allow you to be part of your movie-making project. On the other hand, Diddy was trying to be an amateur filmmaker when he filmed several women in their most unflattering moments. We're not talking about simple family homemade videos, but actual sex tapes where Diddy and his victims are doing the deed. In most cases, these women were only forced into getting into bed with the famous rapper. Of course, if they didn't even want to sleep with him, it also means they never consented to get filmed while contorting their bodies in different positions. Many states have strict laws against this kind of behavior, viewing it as an invasion of privacy, because no one wants their private life turned into a reality show without their consent. That's why women who brought this matter up to court have every right to feel violated. Blackmailing. Diddy must be an expert in psychological manipulation because he used the oldest trick in the playbook. We're talking about blackmailing, a weapon he's used effectively for decades to get what he wanted while ensuring people had no power against him. He's used this tactic against people within his circle, especially in business and relationships. One of the more explosive accusations came from his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, who filed a lawsuit in late 2023. She claimed that during their decade-long relationship, Diddy not only abused her physically and emotionally, but also used blackmail to manipulate her, like a puppet master with his girlfriend dancing on a string. Cassie claims that Diddy had a habit of recording personal moments without her say, and would dangle those recordings as a threat if she ever dared to leave. Sounds like a classic case of blackmail where someone's deepest secrets are used to keep them in check. And it's not just her. Other stories about Diddy have popped up too, suggesting that he might have a history of using some shady tactics. Some former colleagues say he wasn't afraid to keep a little leverage in his back pocket to push things in his favor. It sounds like a scene from a reality show entitled Keeping Up with the Diddys, where the drama is real but the reality is questionable. These claims paint a picture of someone willing to go to extreme lengths to maintain power, both in his personal life and the cutthroat entertainment world. Of course, these are allegations, and Diddy has firmly denied any wrongdoing. He's called the accusations baseless and insists he is unfairly targeted because of his fame and fortune. For him, it's a classic case of the more famous you are, the more people want to take you down. Corrupting minors. You know that kids are supposed to be having fun in the playground or enjoying heartbreaks during their teen years, but Diddy's depraved nature had a different idea of what minors should be doing. He's had a long history of corrupting minors, starting as early as 1991. There are some heavy legal accusations swirling around Diddy regarding allegations of misconduct, including claims of exploiting minors. Reports indicate that out of 120 individuals who have come forward, 25 of them were minors. And we're not talking about those almost 18 teenagers, because the allegations involve victims as young as 9. Apparently, he must have gotten bored of adults and decided to shop in the kids section. He lured minors into his circle, promising career opportunities in the music industry. Of course, if you don't want to go through the hassle of finishing high school to get into a good college, or if you're just too lazy to open your books, you'd probably bite Diddy's lure, believing you'll be famous. However, instead of fame, those minors turned into Diddy's playthings. He even used something as strong as a horse tranquilizer, which knocks you out like a Mike Tyson punch, to keep some of his victims sedated. However, Diddy categorically denied all those claims, saying that those lawsuits were meant to defame him. But if you were the parent of one of those kids, you'd probably wish you could just give him a swift kick to the face, instead of going through all those legal procedures. Drugging people. If there's one thing you've probably noticed in many of Diddy's legal problems, it's that his endgame is often to do whatever it takes to invade a woman's castle with his battering ram. Of course, when these ladies don't want anything to do with him in bed, he resorts to the age-old technique of drugging them until his victims pass out. Imagine yourself having a fun night at one of Diddy's parties. You notice he has his eyes on you. The rapper invites you to his side to talk about life and stuff, while offering you a few drinks. The next thing you know, you're already naked in bed with him while he's asleep. He most probably spiked your drink with a few drinks that made you forget the next 3 hours. Diddy's most recent lawsuits reveal a pattern where he allegedly drugs his victims without their knowledge, primarily using substances like ketamine to make them more compliant. If you're too drugged to even know what day it is, it would be easier to say yes to whatever Diddy has in store. That's why these incidents often led to sexual assaults. These accusations also highlight Diddy's use of different controlled and illegal substances in parties he calls freak-offs, which are large orgies or sex parties, where victims are drugged and coerced into doing freaky stuff with him and his accomplices. That's why an invite to a Diddy party should go straight to your trash bin from your inbox, unless you want to wake up in bed next to a total stranger, not knowing what you did the last 10 hours. Physical assault. If you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, you should be able to afford your own punching bag or an entire boxing gym. But Diddy didn't get the memo when he would rather take his frustrations out on people instead of sparring with someone in the ring. One of the things that makes Diddy a controversial figure is his seemingly uncontrollable temper. The rapper tends to get a bit too physical, especially when he doesn't get his way. An earlier example was 1999, when he got into a brawl at a New York nightclub. What was supposed to be a simple disagreement turned into the Royal Rumble when punches and bottles were thrown at people in the heat of the moment. He narrowly avoided jail time by settling with the other parties involved. Another incident happened in 2015 when Diddy allegedly attacked a UCLA football coach with a kettlebell during practice when the coach got a bit too strict with the rapper's son, who was on the team. He had a serious case of stage father after confronting the coach. No one got injured in that incident, but it was clear that Diddy needed anger management therapy. The charges were dropped. Even though Diddy has a history of turning things into a street fight instead of talking things out, his legal team has always argued that he only acts in self-defense. If Diddy comes out of his legal problems in one piece, maybe he should consider a career in the UFC. Business fraud. You can get rich the right way by working your butt off to get to the top of the business world, or you can do it the Diddy way by using fraud and deception to make hundreds of millions in your business dealings. Most of these business fraud accusations involved his record label, Bad Boy Records. A common accusation against Diddy is that he didn't treat his artists fairly regarding contracts and payments. Bad Boy was known for discovering big names like the notorious B.I.G., Maze, and Faith Evans. However, some artists who worked with him have claimed that the contracts they signed were highly unfavorable, leaving them with little to show for their success, while Diddy's bank account kept growing. It's almost like he had a PhD in Fraud 101, how to get rich while others get broke. A major criticism was that Diddy would take advantage of artists who were new to the industry. Many signed contracts without fully understanding the fine print, and some even claim they were misled or pressured into deals that benefited Diddy more than anyone else. You could say Diddy was a master at the game of Monopoly, always collecting the go directly to rich card at the expense of the other players. This has led to legal battles over royalties, unpaid wages, and contract terms. Some people see this as a form of business fraud because, at the heart of it, there's a sense that that Diddy might have knowingly exploited his artists for financial gain. One famous case involved Maze, who publicly called out Diddy for keeping control of his publishing rights and refusing to sell them back. Maze claimed Diddy offered to give him back his rights for an astronomical price he couldn't afford, like offering a kid to buy a candy bar for thousands of dollars. Trademark disputes. Sean Combs has been the king of reinvention throughout his career because he's changed his name more times than you can count. But one area that's been tricky for him is the topic of trademarks. In the entertainment industry, trademarks are a way to protect a name or logo so that no one else can use it and confuse the public. Think of it like putting a reserved sign on a brand. Now, Diddy, being a superstar, knows the importance of branding. He's had a few names over the years, from Puff Daddy to P. Diddy and just plain Diddy. It's not just for fun, but also about making sure those names stay associated with him, and only him in the business world, similar to how dogs pee on a certain spot to claim it as their territory. The Sean John situation was one of the biggest trademark cases involving his name. This used to be Diddy's clothing brand before he sold it. However, even though Diddy was no longer a shareholder, the new owners of the Sean John brand used his image and likeness, like selling your house and finding out the new owners claim you still live there. This led to a long battle between Diddy and the clothing brand. Eventually, the clothing brand failed, leading to the new owners filing for bankruptcy. Diddy had no choice but to buy the Sean John brand in bankruptcy court to ensure he would never get into another legal trouble involving trademarks again. After all, he probably figured owning the brand was easier than having it haunt him. There's no contractual obligation between us in this channel, but we'd still appreciate it if you do your part by subscribing to our channel. Breach of contract. Imagine agreeing to split a cake with Diddy. The terms of your agreement say that you should split it 50-50 to be fair to all parties. But Diddy uses a special knife where he takes 99% of the cake, leaving you with crumbs. That's where the breach of contract legal problem started with Diddy. In this case, it's not about cake, but more about money. Essentially, Diddy allegedly didn't follow through on agreements he was bound to in the contracts he entered into. In legal terms, a breach of contract happens when one party fails to meet the terms laid out in a contract, like ordering a cheeseburger and getting a salad instead. The breach can happen if you don't do what was promised, do it late, or do it in a way that doesn't meet the agreed upon standards. In Diddy's case, one major example of breach of contract accusations came from his former business associates. They claimed that he didn't honor the terms of deals involving his various ventures, whether it was his record label, clothing line, or vodka brand. These associates said they were owed money or proper recognition, and that Diddy didn't hold up his end of the bargain. It's like agreeing to split the bill at dinner, but then suddenly forgetting your wallet. Going back to the cake example, the legal trouble starts because those left with the crumbs felt cheated because Diddy didn't give them the share they were promised. Naturally, they'd go to court to compel the rapper to pay them their share. The people suing Diddy said, "Hey, I lost out on this deal because you didn't stick to your word, and now you owe me." Some of those cases were also connected to his larger sexual harassment and assault issues because he had former employees who not only got harassed by the diddler, but also got cheated out of their wages and benefits. It was a 2-for-1 deal: harassment on the side and wage theft as the main course.